All right, y'all. We are starting off Ortland Falls, episode 5, 4. So yeah, we just starting off. We kind of having a cooling out, relaxing day, and we're changing up our format a little bit, changing the camera angle,
changing our seating again,
changing our seating arrangement.
It's all for you, the viewers we don't have yet. We're doing it for you.
Yeah, nobody watches us, but at least we get to talk. So I mean, this is our own free space, our own free thinking. Although we're not like that type of free thinkers, but we just talking. So yeah, where do we want to get started today? I know we got a bunch of topics. I know we wanted to get into some things here in Ortland.
Do you want to maybe talk about why we call it Ortland and not Portland? Do you want
to... Portland? Well...
What's the difference between Ortland and Portland?
Ooh. Yo, because it's just... Man, the P don't deserve to be there anymore, man. We need to take that P off. Because Ortland's just not what it was.
You lost your P privileges.
Yeah.
That's why you're Ortland.
P's falling off. And so, yeah, that and, because, like, we're getting a bad rap nationally now. Like, people don't know what the hell we are. So we need to switch it up and, and call out Ortland for being a little bit mixed messaging on what it is. It's not really the weird place that they say it is, or they market it as being, and it's not really this this haven of liberal democracy, like they say it is. So like we're just giving it to you real, and you're only gonna hear it from us. It's the organizers and folks that are on the ground that actually know what's going on. So that's why we call it Ortland. That's what gives it the Ortland sound.
Portland's the Portlandia. It's Fred Armisen. It's put a bird on it. It's all that nice branding you see in the New York Times. Ortland's what's actually happening in the city. Is that it?
Yeah, Portland's like the bridges. It's the no black people living in the city. It's the low crime rate supposedly. Portland is the dream of of what most big cities around the nation have is like their suburban communities. Like that's like what they want Portland to be.
Incrementalist liberal politics.
Yeah, man. Portland too nice. All that stuff.
Yep. Ortland is what's happening right now.
Ortland's the real, man. We're just giving it to you, the real talk about what Ortland is really what it is. So, yeah, that's I don't know. I feel like we're gonna build it. We're gonna build that the definition.
Okay.
Keep growing it.
About it. Let's do it.
All right, today's just gonna be chill. We're gonna be relaxed because the coffee. Apparently, the coffee that we got today actually had no caffeine in it. They gave us the decaf version.
I don't know. and I was like, yo, I'm gonna turn it up today. I'm gonna have the matcha today. I'm gonna get the real energy. And man, I got nothing off that. I'm feeling like hazy and foggy right now.
Well, you've also been working 12-hour days for like a week straight now, so there's that.
That's true. Yeah. Tell my wife that. She ain't believing it. I get home, I'm tired, and I like take a nap. She's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm fucking napping.
I'm just old. I'm working out here. Nah, but we all put in a lot of work this week. So, yeah, man, today is a Friday, and, oh, man, it feels good to just relax,
Yeah.
But there's some stuff that we need to talk about that is pissing us off, and you're going to figure it out. That even though we don't sound like we're pissed off, we look calm. You're gonna hear more and more about what makes us so fucking angry, alright?
And I laugh through my anger.
Fun fact, I actually used to be nicknamed Rage. I had a coworker when I was working, God, what the fuck was that? I was working for a student exchange company, and a coworker, shout out to Troy Henry, used to call me Rage. He was like, you're way too quiet. You just got this rage simmering within. I was like,
Rage Maynard.
Rage
Maynard.
Rage Maynard. Oh my god.
Yeah,
hey man, t-shirt logo to come. We're gonna be putting that out in the next few episodes. you know, and that's the other thing that we're doing this for, you know, is because we need a space where we can just, you know, let shit go, and, you know, in a healthy way, and, you know, using each other as a way of reflecting on things that we see, we hear, we read on the internet, all these Twitter comments and everything. Like, this can be a place where we can talk about what we're hearing, seeing, and experiencing on a day-to-day basis here in Ortland, and we'll help each other just as brothers to, you know, think about these things. So,
yeah. I mean,
where do we want to start?
Yeah, where do you want to start today?
Fucking, what about Adam Waff and Andy? Hashtag Adam Waff and Andy.
Adam Waff and Andy.
Fucking no.
Andy don't know.
Oh.
Andy
Was he in the news?
Andy can't get right.
Andy's
Whatever
always
you
in the
want to
news
call him.
because Andy knows a threat to our community and provides kill lists to Adam Waffen.
Oh,
That's your new 14 words right there.
Yeah.
So tell us what happened.
So Andy actually just recently posted something about like how he condemns hate. However, and after that point, it doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
It doesn't fucking matter. Like, you know, you can put out the peaceful statement of like, I condemn hate. However, and then start talking about how you're a victim and start and go over the whole grift process again. But the fact of the matter is, like, it's not Andy that's the fucking problem. The problem is the platform that he's allowed, and people like him are allowed, and fucking Farley's and shit like that.
Yeah.
The shit that they're fucking allowed. Like, how do they have this access to such a fucking platform to spew all kinds of fucking dumb shit? If you look at the comments that their threads, their entire following are people that are filled with xenophobia, you know, hate, all kinds of vitriol towards Muslims and people of color and fucking fascist, just all the pure fascist ideologies that pour out from there.
Well,
I'm tired of that shit, man.
Let's back it up and talk about why he's in the news. So there's a thing that happened recently.
Yeah.
There's a member of the Corvallis School Board who's non-binary, uses they/them pronouns, and either posted or liked, I forget which, a tweet. I'm not going to use this person's name for reasons we're gonna get into here in a sec. But posted a tweet that was something like, "Remember, kids, all cops are bastards," which is correct. All cops are bastards. Fuck the police. On the school board. So of course this became a huge kerfuffle, and Andy found out about this and tweeted about this person with their face, their name, posted it all over his network of fucking alt-right goons, and within 15 minutes this person started getting death threats. Soon after, their kids started getting death threats. After they already resigned from the school board, they had to resign over this. They're getting death threats, their kids are getting death threats, and it got bad enough that this person was talking about kind of content warning for what follows, but committing self-harm as a way to relieve the pressure and the harassment their kids were facing. But Andy Ngo says he disavows violence. He can't control what people do with his quote-unquote journalism.
Right.
But no, Andy is the fucking stenographer for Adam Waffen, Proud Boys, Patriot Prayer, all of these right-wing violent shitbag militias. And of course, the first thing that he did is amp up the fact that this person is non-binary. Really trying to talk, and that created all the fucking comments you could imagine.
Yeah, I think it was within 15 minutes of his tweets, they received 10 or 11 death threats, which they reported. That's when you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So that's why Andy's in the news, and this is after. So, you know, there are a lot of folks in national media who...
Yeah, innocent Andy, right?
Right,
the guy who goes on the Joe Rogan podcast trying to reframe the Proud Boys, you know, and trying to make them look good and look like the victims and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, so this guy's a fucking punk, right?
Oh, yeah.
Can we just say it?
Yeah.
I mean, like, come on. He's trying to call himself some kind of journalist or freelancer or whatever. Okay, so freelancers as a business, you know, it's a struggle in terms of how you get paid and all of that, and you know, you are competing with a lot of other freelancers. You put your stuff out on the internet, you hope that a news media source will pick you up, all that stuff. Okay, so instantly the whole freelance community kind of came and supported Andy No early on, right? And said, look, he's just a freelancer. So he was kind of riding that wave. But now at this point we can say this guy's not a freelancer.
I mean,
like, he's an activist at this point, right?
I hesitate to agree with that totally. I think there are a lot of folks who did that. I think there are a lot of really smart freelancers, smart journalists who are like, no, this guy is a propagandist who didn't carry water for him. But I do think you're right that there are a lot of folks that did.
You know, particularly like a really notable one, and I'm not going to use her name, but you know, somebody from the Oregonian, after Andy had gotten attacked, it was like, you know, journalists shouldn't be attacked, and this wasn't right for Andy and stuff like that. It was like, you know, it's, you know, we talk about if there was a Nazi in front of you and you had the ability to punch him, you would punch a fucking Nazi, kids. But, and so.
Oh, we're about to clip that one. We're gonna clip it, and turn it into a little soundbar.
You have that Richard Spencer picture.
Bunch of Nazi kids.
Bunch of Nazi kids, and that's what happened with Andy. This guy grifts, and Andy knows a threat to our community and supplies kill lists to Adamwaffen. I mean, this may be a catchy and kitschy at the moment, but this is the fact. This is what it's always been. He has grifted. He has made money off not caring about what other people go through based on this hate and vitriol. He is profiting off of it. He has no spine. He has no moral. This guy literally is providing kill lists to a hate group. It's well documented. The receipts are out, bitches. And, you know, it's...
So this is the battle for Ortland's soul, you know? And the soul of Ortland is under siege, you know? And, you know, when we talk about this, it's because we care. And because we know that there's a very, very, very small minority of folks, and they're being supplied with information. And the folks that are using that information oftentimes aren't from here. They're just on the internet somewhere, and they're getting on this wave, and they're trying to boost it up like the internet trolls that do this. You know, they use these scare tactics, they threaten people, but we know they're cowards. We know they're cowards, and we know that because when we see them in the streets, we see how cowardly they actually are. So we're here because we know that this battle for the soul of Ortland is they're losing, and they're desperate.
They're on their heels.
And they obviously are using these tactics to try to keep their movement alive, but it's not working. So we're here to say that it's not working. We're not afraid, and we're gonna fight this shit, right?
And we're gonna fight this shit. We're gonna own this fight because they're losing because of anti-fascism. They're losing because of an anti-fascist movement.
And we outnumber them.
We absolutely outnumber them.
By
that's
a
one
lot.
of the things that I love and respect about Pop Mob, because what they've been doing is that they've brought popular mobilization to it. They've had a way of being able to make sure that everybody who believes in anti-fascism participates and brings their own strengths. Whether you're brute force anti-fascist, or you know, you're a clown dressing anti-fascist, or you're just an everyday anti-fascist, you know? And I think that's what's winning. None of the systems in which the city of Portland has been establishing has helped, whether it's been through their police force or through their ordinance without teeth that they've put together as a city. None of that has done anything. It's all been on the everyday anti-fascists.
And I think that one of the things we got to recognize too is, even though I agree with you that, you know, there is a fight against fascists in this city, I think we also got to acknowledge that this is deeply rooted in Portland, right? And I think that because this week was the 30th anniversary or the 31st anniversary of the murder of Mulugeta Surah in southeast Portland, right? Ethiopian man who was in the country, you know, the invitation of his uncle, sending money back to his son, was going to school, was working, pillar of the Ethiopian community at that time, and then he was coming back from a party, driving through southeast Portland on Pine Street. Some white supremacists with white Aryan resistance came by because this was the center of racist and Nazi skinhead culture in the United States, and beat him to death with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
So this stuff runs deep in Portland, right? We were founded as a white homeland. This white supremacy has been baked into the city from the get-go, and there has been a long-running fight against Nazis, fascists, all of these ultra-right folks. And I think you're right, Sam, that the folks who have been leading that are folks in the punk scene who have been kicking Nazis out of their shows for as long as Nazis have been trying to infiltrate, right? It's sharp, skinheads against racial prejudice. It's folks who have been willing to do whatever anti-fascist work looks like, whether that's blocking up and confronting folks in the streets, whether that's working as a street medic, whether that's spreading news and information around. A lot of different ways to combat that.
Yeah.
And it's only by that struggle, by that mass struggle and mobilization, that we make progress.
Man, you said that. You said that so well. You said that amazingly well. And you know, one thing I just want to go back and give a little more information about founded as a white homeland in Oregon, because that history doesn't get told enough. But you know, Oregon was founded and had a law called the Homesteading Act, and the Homesteading Act allowed a white man traveling to this region of the country to essentially just mark out a certain plot of land, and they were giving it to them for free. And that set of land, you know, their acres, I think it was 5 acres, was their land. And it was only allotted to men, and it was only allotted to white men. So that value still carries today because, you know, that has laid a foundation of wealth that is intergenerational wealth at this point. And so many of the folks that have benefited from that are still here. So when we talk about founded as a white homeland, we talk about the policies that were put into place to actually make it a white homeland. So I just want to get more information about that. But yeah, we feel like we smashed that subject?
Yeah. I feel like
we're going to keep coming back to it.
I feel like we hit that one. We can move on. We were going to talk about...
We can't talk about it any harder than we have now, but it's an issue that's going to be ongoing, and I'm sure we're going to revisit it a few times.
So technical programming note, you should scoot like a quarter inch to the left so you're not rubbing on this chair. Still getting our technical bugs out. We're still figuring out this whole podcast thing.
Yeah, man.
Bear with us. Do you want to talk about strippers?
Yo, let's switch it up.
All right. You want me to do some ranting about strippers and Ted Wheeler?
Well, so prep up the story. Like, what is the news, and then what we'll do is we'll both react to it.
Right? All right. That's okay. So background for folks who are not out here in Ortland. So we got a mayor named Ted Wheeler. Things about Ted: he is the son of a timber baron. Has a timber town named after him, Wheeler, Oregon. Is richer than God because his family sold their timber company to Weyerhaeuser, one of these big fucking timber conglomerates, for like $2 billion.
Damn.
Right before the spotted owl got listed on the Endangered Species Act and screwed up a lot of federal logging in Oregon. So Ted Wheeler is the fucking scion of a rich logging family. He's a timber baron's son, right? And he is our mayor. He's the mayor of Portland. He used to be treasurer of the state of Oregon, chair of Multnomah County. Likes to masquerade as a progressive Democrat, but is really a what we would call a MAC Club Republican. Multnomah Athletic Club, this like $10,000 a month or $10,000 a year club that you join, where everybody in power basically just sits around and talks about how they're going to kind of rule the city.
Yep.
So that's Ted Wheeler. He is the mayor of Portland, and he is running for re-election, which is a big thing because no mayor in Portland has run for re-election since Vera Katz in the year 2000, actually. Yeah, the year 2000 was the last time we had a mayor run for re-election. A lot of one-term mayors.
Mm-hmm.
And he announced,
Vera.
Yeah, Vera. Rest in peace, Vera. So Wheeler is coming off the heels of a ballot measure in Portland, which put into place campaign finance limits, and it's all tied up in the courts because Oregon believes that free speech means that you should be able to give as much money as you want to political candidates. Real progressive state we got going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, it passed with 87% of the vote, right? Like massively popular campaign finance limits. So Wheeler's gearing up for election, and people have been pressuring him, like, will you obey these campaign finance limits? Will you participate in the public campaign financing system that we have in Portland, right? We got another candidate, Sarah Anarone, who is doing that. But Wheeler's not, because he's richer than God, and all of his friends are richer than God. And can't take rich people's money if you obey campaign finance limits. So he's announced he's only going to take $500 from individuals, or $5,000 from individuals, $10,000 from companies, or something like that.
Ooh, he's putting a major cap on that.
Yeah, only $10,000. You can only substantially bribe him, not overwhelmingly. Right. Oh, just so ethical. But he's so ethical, he's not going to take money from several industries. Tobacco. Makes sense, right? Arms.
Yeah. The tobacco industry is so big in Oregon.
Right, RGR Reynolds out here giving a whole bunch of money to candidates. Not going to take it from, I think, the arms industry or something like that.
Because that's huge out here.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's not going to take it from adult entertainment. He's not going to take money from strippers in a city which has shout out to Lil Sinclair, who was talking up a story about this on social media. It's like, this is like the third, second, or first, city in the United States or in North America for strippers per capita. Got a lot of clubs out here. We got a lot of folks out here. But Ted Wheeler is not going to take strippers' money.
So 2 industries and 1 economic class of people.
Yeah.
Right. So just to get this out there, sex workers work. Sex workers are workers. Just put that out there. This idea that somehow we're not taking money from a whole bunch of folks who are working class, who are shit on left and right, because most of them are independent contractors. You're paying fucking club fees to even actually get a chance to dance. You're competing for the right shifts. It's not it's just you making a shitload of money without barriers. Strippers are working class. They're workers, and sex work is work.
Yeah.
And Ted Wheeler's not going to be taking stripper money.
Man, just hearing about this story from you and just hearing all this information, we're also seeing that Ted Wheeler's kind of outed himself as a Republican.
He's using, to a certain extent, at least, attacking an economic class of people that are working class, whether you like them or not. It's just absolutely fucking useless and needless. And it is a playbook that comes from the right, as far as disparaging a class of people, and
well, let's break down these industries. So as a politician, the only reason you would refuse to take money from those industries is if you're being offered money from those industries, right? So he's getting these, the folks that are the buyers, right? The buyers into his campaign, coming, knocking on his door, sitting down with him, having dinner with him, and basically talking to him straight and saying, hey, we have some money that we want to give you. Will you take it? So now he's lumping in the sex worker industry with the tobacco industry and with the arms industry. Okay, all 3 of these industries. Let's just think about who's really in control of these industries. Think about the large level, on the meta level, right? On the macro level. Tobacco. Okay, history rooted in slavery. Okay. The arms industry. Okay, so I think about the Dutch, the French, the colonizers, who were some of the first gun makers in the world. Here in the U.S., obviously, and in Oregon, what do we have for an arms industry? Do we have much of an arms industry here in Oregon? So we're talking about national money.
Even
Lockheed's.
Even arms sales in the state of Oregon is incredibly low compared to the rest of the nation.
Yeah, we got gun stores, but a couple of them.
Yeah. So he's getting this money from national. Tobacco, that, and so the sex industry, we're talking, that's probably, of those 3 industries, is going to be the most local, the most localized. So he's cutting off the ability for this most local, set of these 3 to participate in his campaign. And when you cut off an industry from participating in your campaign, it's a political statement that you're putting onto the public and saying, oh no, I can take money from the weed industry, I can take money from the dairy industry, I can take money, but I can't take money from your industry because it's just not morally right. It doesn't ethically fit with my, it doesn't sit well with me. So there's a political part to it, but then this whole idea of building your own power. Part of building power is participation, and that's not just voting. That's actually donating to a campaign. Donations, as we have seen in recent years, is a way to gain access to politicians. So it's also something that he's putting out, that these industries can't access me.
I mean, it's not only the fact that there's no I mean, to me, it's also a bit of a smokescreen, right? Because he is literally. I mean, the will of the people in the city of Portland was to basically put a cap on how finances are how donations are received by a candidate.
Yeah.
And then by being able to say, well, I'm not going to receive from these three industries, you're literally just not talking about the actual problem, and then just talking about something as if it was a solution. It's a smokescreen to, like, I mean, okay, fine, but it's receiving all the money from these other industries, whether it's Columbia Sportswear or Nike, and we know what's happened with Columbia Sportswear. The enforcement of police that they asked for, you know, in front of their businesses in downtown Portland, you know, to keep loiterers from sitting even or hanging around the front of their businesses and whatnot.
So the folks shopping at Columbia don't have to, horror of horrors, gaze upon poor people.
Right.
Yeah,
and
I mean, that's the owner class's playbook. But let's get back to Ted Wheeler, though, because, I mean...
it's all the businesses and stuff that he's going to be receiving money from. And it's just smoke and mirrors, man, when he's not talking about all this money that he's going to receive.
Yes.
And just say that, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to accept it from these three industries.
Well, those three industries, I mean, let's just... I mean, if we
Or
think
two
about...
industries and one economic class of people.
Yeah, so the economic class of people, the sex worker industry. So, I mean, the sex worker industry here in Portland is more active politically than... I'm not sure how it is in other cities, but I would say that there's a lot of activism. There's a lot of involvement. There's a lot of public awareness that's going on right here in Portland. I was at a forum recently where, at a DA forum, and one of the questions that was great to hear and, you know, personally educational about decriminalization of sex work, and it was broken down to a lot of things, and to the DAs, and saying, hey, this isn't a policy about human trafficking. This is a policy about sex workers, you know, who are in this industry. So it was great to hear that, and it's great to see that there's a political activity and movement in our community here in Portland. So this is another message to them, and from Ted Wheeler, from our mayor, that when you can't even access me, you can't come and talk to me. Don't, you know, you're cutting. When you cut off finances to your campaign, it's a pretty clear message that goes out. And so I think that's what Ted Wheeler's doing, and we're calling him out on that, and that's some bullshit. That it shouldn't be lumped together with these two other industries, the tobacco industry and the arms industry. You know, like why are you even getting solicitations from the arms and the tobacco industry anyways here in Portland? Like that's a bigger, that's another question that comes out here, you know? Like these aren't local industries here in Portland. You know, like why are they reaching out to you? And also, what circles is he even like in that he's getting all these solicitations from them? So I mean, that's another question that's coming up, because one, I know that the sex industry here in Portland is building a voice for themselves. They're talking about their workers' rights. They're talking about the decriminalization in the communities, and they're trying to build momentum for themselves. It just seems like one of those instances of just punching down at people who are just getting their legs under them. You know, like literally getting their legs under them, that they can actually like move as a movement. You know, so that's it's just a terrible move. Not like we're even fans of Ted Wheeler anyways, you know. Dude's trash, so you know, we kind of expected it from him. He's taking money from Sondland, now he's, you know, in a lot of ways taking money from all these other industries. So you know, like he's not really Ortland's mayor anymore. I mean, he already told us so much that
he's definitely representative of a class of intangible people.
Yeah.
You know, this rich class, these 1%ers.
How many Ted Wheelers do you run into every day? Would you say on average?
Like individual.
I don't
you know, Ted Wheeler types.
I don't hang around corny environments. So
yeah, I mean, I don't see any Ted Wheelers on the daily basis. I don't run into any.
Our work keeps us on the ground in places that's important.
Yeah.
And in spaces that's important, and spaces that's progressive, and things that, and our work has us in spaces where we have to represent people that are largely underrepresented. And so the only time, like for instance, I'm around people like Wheeler is when I'm listening to very privileged neighborhood association folks like last night speak in front of the city council against the code change. But I mean, the Wheelers are all out there. It's just that we choose not to be around them because our work doesn't represent them.
There are a lot of them, and it feels like the only time I'm interacting with them is when I have to like come to their offices with a handout, essentially asking for something. They have all the power, they have all the money. You know, that's what Ted Wheeler kind of represents to me: power, money, and that he's kind of the top of the, currently the figurehead here in Portland. But there's a lot of them out there, and we're oftentimes having to, beg and grovel and ask for support from them. And it's frustrating, man. It's really frustrating to be in this position and to see consistently someone tell us who they are. Yeah. And yet, how many people are really complaining about it? You're only going to hear it from Ortland Falls. Yep. We're going to be complaining about it, and all the folks, the great activists that are out there on Twitter. So we're going to keep boosting them up. Do we want to talk about, unless there's anything else to say on this subject, y'all want to move on to the next one?
I'll have one thing about this, about where you see these like Wheeler types, these rich fucking, mostly white dudes, and it's when you see them coming up to inflict class warfare on folks, right? When you see Jordan Schnitzer standing outside of Wapato, this shuttered jail that never opened, saying, we're just going to warehouse all the city's homeless folks here. When you see Tim Boyles from Columbia Sportswear making good on his connections and the money he gives to Ted Wheeler to make it so that the police are keeping homeless folks from camping outside of Columbia Sportswear as if they got any fucking where to go. Yeah. Right? This is when you see these people, is when they poke their heads out of whatever fucking like CEO cave that they're in to shit on poor people. That's when you see them. And they've got the perfect ally at City Hall to do that in Ted Wheeler. Because he loves rich people and he loves their money, because he's one of them.
Yeah, that's right. He is one of them, and he's going to protect himself. He's going to protect his friends, and we're going to see that over and over and over again. And we're going to call out every instance of him doing it as it happens in real time. Yeah. So let's do a quick reactions from y'all about the impeachment stuff that's happening on the national level with the guy that's in the White House. And even though it's so far away, it's still, they're like pushing it on us to like watch it and pay attention, and every single stream online is like covering it right now. Every single news program's covering it.
It's going on right now, day 2.
It's going on right now. What do y'all think about it?
Here's my hot take. Donald Trump is a piece of shit. He is a fascist. He's locking children in concentration camps along the border. I do not give half a shit whether Russia or Ukraine influenced the U.S. election. I do not believe in the United States as an entity. I do not believe in American democracy. And I believe that chickens come home to roost, and that's exactly what's happening here. We don't get to go to Russia in 1991 and get Boris Yeltsin elected to complain about Russians' influence in our elections. Yep. We don't get to fucking participate in the deposing of Evo Morales in Bolivia like 3 fucking days ago, and then talk about the integrity of U.S. democracy. I don't give a shit. I do not give a shit.
My hot take is the fact that Donald Trump is there because this nation's politics has led to it. He didn't just walk in there. He didn't get miraculously elected. There's been a deterioration of our democracy in this country for a very, very long time. I was 4 years old when Reagan got elected. I was 5 years old when my mom was looking at the TV and I heard her curse for the first time. Motherfucker, that bitch. I mean, it's like, you know, and I mean, it's been going on for a very long time. You look at the corruption from the Nixon administration. You look at the corruption in the Clinton administration. You know, with the crime bill, you know, the Glass-Steagall Act, that led to our economic collapse under Bush. And Bush was a perfect foible for all this shit to fall under. You know, he was a fucking idiot, and Dick Cheney's back there pulling the fucking chains and stuff. We went to war over bullshit. This whole nation is responsible with our tax money for bringing complete destruction and then creating the foundations of terrorism that this country now actually loves to point at and live off of. But then again, even before the war, we had fucking True Lies, a movie that was one of many movies that was always looking at my people as terrorists. You know, it's been a constant brew. We've been headed towards romanticizing what's the false evils and then doing whatever it takes to create it on a worldwide scale. And then we run into this fucking game show host, fucking whatever, this TV parody who lived his life as a fucking rich boy joke, become president of this country. And how did he get there? Not through his fucking talents. It was our Orwellian love to this fucking this shitstorm of a story, this political situation that's just been, we've never repaired what we've done wrong as a country to the Native Americans. We just stick them in reservations and have a bunch of red tape for them to cross. African Americans, zero repair done. So as a nation, if we're never going to repair ourselves, we're never going to fix the root of the issues that we've created, it's just going to continue to deteriorate. So what hope do I see for this country when the only other solution to fucking Trump is Biden leading on the Democratic side? We haven't learned shit. We haven't fucking learned shit.
What if we did moderate fascism, but nicer? The Joe Biden story.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you know, Bernie Sanders.
I work with Republicans all the time. Like, look at my track record.
You know, Bernie Sanders would be the hope, but it's just not going to happen because he was railroaded the last time. Yeah, motherfuckers, I said it. He was railroaded the last time and shit. And then look what happened.
Yeah.
The golden child, Hillary Clinton,
2016,
didn't do shit.
Boom.
Man, it's just. So, are we going to win? What happens if Trump gets impeached? Nothing happens if Trump gets impeached. There's just another stain on the country, but are we going to fix our politics?
Well, I want to see him get impeached, though, just because of the messiness of it. I like the messiness of it, because, you know, it forces Democrats to have a little bit of courage, and, you know, that's so rare to see. I just want to see a courageous Democrat up there. John Lewis can't be the only one, you know what I'm saying? Like, he gets up and you hear and see his courage. There's many others you can say that, you know, are standing up to do that. But
hey man,
to be honest, there's not enough, man.
We got the squad and they're doing it, but look at how they're being.
But the actual leadership of the Democrats, I'm talking about the leadership, like, you know, like, come on, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, who's that guy in the Senate? But it's like, I don't really even care, man. And a lot of folks really don't. I guess a lot of folks really aren't that invested in impeachment this time around. You know, I was listening to folks like Whoopi Goldberg, you know, talking about the impeachment of Nixon.
This motherfucker likes The View.
Man, I love The View. And that's my program.
You're just watching for Meghan McCain.
No, man, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of, like, the conversation that it generates, man, and the messiness of it, for sure. But I'm just thinking, like, they're trying to kind of force us to pay attention to the entire narrative of this impeachment. But, like, I don't think we're really tuning in and don't care to tune in. And we don't care to, like, we aren't. I think folks are tending away from these like long drawn out propaganda, like these the theater of propaganda. Like they don't have us in this captive space anymore, where we have to go and turn on the TV and watch 5 channels and everything is propaganda. Like, we have so many different outlets that we can now participate in, and like when only 35 to 40% of the population actually votes in any given election, you know, and the Democrats are like, it's time to rise up for impeachment. It's like, come on. No rising up that's gonna happen. There's no popular movement that's gonna happen. Y'all have moved so far away from populism. You've moved so far away from like the working class. Moved so far away from the actual population of the U.S. And now you're trying to like reel us back in and to impeach this guy. It's like kind of late. You know, like, where have you been, like, supporting us? Like, you gave the bailouts to the banks, like, and there's been no bailouts for, like, folks that have college loans. You gave no bailouts to people who are going bankrupt over health insurance, you know, costs. There's no bailouts for us, but the rich keep getting all the bailouts. So the Democrats are now asking us to, like, rise up and fight a tyrannical person. It's like, who's going to replace them? You could basically gonna replace us with the same thing, like that's the light version of them, you know. And so I mean, keep sending our folks to war. You know, the Democrats are even more of a warmonger party now than they were, you know, in the last administration. So it's just kind of like backwards, and to me, I get no excitement and no sort of pleasure from this saying this, but like, to be honest, I don't really care about the impeachment thing. So,
because what happens if he gets impeached and removed, right? So Pence, who basically shares Trump's views but is significantly more competent and more well spoken,
yeah,
becomes president.
Yeah,
like
there was a
yeah.
you know, if Pence is the Mr. Burns, whereas fucking Trump is the Krusty the Clown, you know.
Right.
You have a perfect idiot who's fumbling his way through the administration, but then you'll have a fucking xenophobic, racist fucking scientist up in there. Mm-hmm. You know.
Let's put it this way. My stance on presidents is simple, and I believe it was James Madison who said, "Kill your masters." No, sorry, Killer Mike. I get them confused all the time.
Oh.
Kill your masters.
Killer Mike.
Hey, you know what? I mean,
or Nat Turner.
Killer Mike. We talked about this before we started, but again,
we love you, Mike.
Again, the battle of the bullet, some freedom or some bullshit. Will we ever do it big or keep settling for little shit? We brag on having bread, but none of us are bakers. We all talk having greens, but none of us own acres. And if none of us own acres and none of us own wheat, then who will feed our people when our people need to eat? Like, fuck, man. Yeah. That's exactly where we are. And he wrote that shit 10 years ago.
And I mean, this is why. I mean, you both know this about me. I'm a communist, right? And with some anarchist sensibilities. I don't vote in national elections by and large. I definitely vote on local stuff, mostly ballot measures. Not a whole lot of candidates, to be honest with you. Sorry, mainstream liberal friends. I've let you down. I know. I don't care.
Nah, you cool.
I don't vote for president. I don't vote for Congress because these are illegitimate institutions, right? You can't. I don't think it's ethical to participate in a colonizer's government in that way. I say this as a white dude very clearly, to be clear. I believe in people power, right? Like, I don't believe in fucking abstracting our power as people out to Earl Blumenauer and his bike lapel pin, right? Like, yeah. I believe in empowering people. I don't see impeachment doing that. Like, I'll participate in mainstream political stuff, even if I disagree with the fundamentals of it, if I think it enhances the power of people, right? There are a lot of campaigns I'll get involved with on that basis. I don't see that.
Like, if you had an Ilhan Omar to vote on in the state, or Rashida Tlaib, or an AOC, if you had one of those people that you could vote for, or Casey Jama, you know, District 24. I mean, like, if we had these powers, then, you know, I vote in almost all elections. I think there was only one election I didn't vote in. But when I didn't vote, it became a conscious decision, and that's when I realized what Andrew was talking about. Because then I was like, oh man, you have to vote in every election. You have to vote in every election. Oh my God. But then there was one election where it's like I couldn't. I was like, none of these people are representative of what I believe in.
All right, y'all. These two got their voting records on record now. They got their voting records on record.
No, it's all good.
Unless you think I voted for Jill Stein, I just didn't vote in 2016 for president. Not about to fucking fill this. I was gonna say pull the lever, but we have mail-in ballots, so I wasn't gonna fill the bubble for Hillary Clinton. I disagree with her on everything. Definitely not voting for fucking Donald Trump. I'm not an accelerationist, right? I don't think inviting fascism is gonna get us to the promised land any quicker. But yeah, it just again, Killer Mike. Choose the lesser of two evils, the devil's still gonna win.
Yeah.
Dang, man. By the end of this podcast series, man, we're all gonna be sovereigns. We're gonna start our own nation. I love that, though. I love that. So let's talk about Roger Stone, since we're talking about that White House, man. It's just like a clown car filled with a bunch of criminals.
Fucking
man.
Grandmaster buffoon.
It's fucking crazy, man. You really think the White House is gonna come out of this whole thing clean? Like, you think that you think about like the whole nation and the narrative of this nation. We elect a president who is the commander-in-chief of our army and is a sort of citizen, who runs this country and is our figurehead, and we're supposed to listen to him and all this stuff. But this guy is surrounded by people going to jail left and right. Dude, like
their jobs expiring, they're quitting.
Dude, how are they gonna clean this shit up after this administration? Like, how are they gonna rewrite this shit? Like, how are they gonna write a presidential like story?
Looking back on the history of this administration, I just don't understand why they don't grasp the concept of looking at history. Oh well, it's because they don't believe in education. They don't believe in understanding history.
Okay,
so on the Roger Stone thing, I am positively shocked that a dude who looks like a fucking Bond villain and worked for and idolizes Richard Nixon turned out to be corrupt as hell. Fucking shocked.
Who knew?
I couldn't see that coming.
He does look like
such a surprise.
So he looks like some fucking 2-bit Bond villain, like one of the ones who like gets killed in the first third of the movie before the real villain.
He looks like an Austin Powers villain.
Yeah, there you go. Motherfucking Austin Powers villain.
Yeah, what was that guy's name? Goldmember? Like,
he does look like fucking that Goldmember guy in Austin Powers. Doesn't he?
Oh my god.
Roger Stone looks like that motherfucker, except in
Goldmember is a little more Irish looking. Like he's got this, like he's like this Irish trope, basically. I don't know. He has this really weird accent. Anyways, this is the thing about Roger Stone, man. Like, you kind of reap what you sow, man. Like the guy, like he's gonna come out of this ahead, though. He's gonna spin it in some way. He's gonna go on like a national defiance tour, make a bunch of money, write a book. He's gonna monetize it.
What kind of sentencing is he gonna get, though? What comes out of this? What's next?
Probably get some release condition where he can be on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh yeah.
Inside of 2 years, he's gonna be on fucking American Idol or some shit.
This motherfucker's
that's the cleanup. That's the cleanup this country's gonna do. They're gonna use the media. They're gonna use all of these like shitty ass shows. We're gonna have Dancing with the Stars. We're gonna have what's that? The Masked Singer.
You said Dancing with the Stars, and that's
Dancing with the Stars?
And that's a perfect Freudian
Dancing with the Stars.
That's a perfect Freudian.
Yo, maybe I was watching too much Lion King.
Stars.
With the new Lion King, they've got a whole family of scars. They got like this, like the Scar, the character who kills Mufasa and all that. But now he has a bunch of kids, and there's like this whole tribe of scars. So maybe that's what I was thinking about.
This is your brain on Disney Plus. This is your brain on Disney.
This is your brain on Disney.
Oh god, let's
Disney,
not go there.
you fucking got me.
Listen, they already got enough money. They don't need any.
But Roger Stone seems like a Disney character too.
Yeah,
is he a little bit like? Seems like he could be drawn
any
up in a cartoon.
Cartoonish, comedically bad character you can come up with is Roger Stone.
Yeah.
You see him like looking for some Dalmatians, like trying to make himself a nice coat, something like that.
He looks like the ancestral son of Boss Hog. I mean,
shit, you're not wrong.
You can
Boss
come up
Hog.
with anything. That's what this guy is.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Alright, let's move on.
What else we got?
Let's move on. Sad news, and we wanted to talk about this a little bit, but there was a school shooting in Santa Clarita, I think.
Yeah, down in California.
North of LA. So condolences out to the families, condolences to the community, and we're thinking about you. We did want to have a brief conversation after our thoughts and condolences and everything, because this is sad. It's sad for our country. It's sad for our communities. It's sad for any locality to have to survive and go through that. And so we wanted to, spend a second reflecting on that, and then move on to just a general, more broad conversation, because school shootings are constantly with us. I have a school-age child, so of course I'm thinking about this. Interact with a lot of parents on a daily basis, and so it's always fresh on our minds, fear and safety for our children. But at the same time, I think as we are always thinking about solutions to these problems, we wanted to talk about that, and we wanted to talk about solutions to problems that we face as a society, as a country, as a city. And we are fortunate that Ortland hasn't had a lot of these, although we have had some. I think the most recent one was Park Rose High School. We've also had a mass shooting at Clackamas, Umpqua College down south in Southern Oregon. Clackamas Clackamas Mall also had a shooting. All perpetrated by
all within the last 3 years.
Young men.
Last 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah. I would say that we've been somewhat fortunate that we haven't had it to the scale that some other communities have, because obviously the impact's greater the more folks get shot and everything. So anyways, we wanted to just talk about this a little bit.
Scale is, to me, scale is only relative.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the fact that somebody has courage, or they feel empowered enough to be able to grab a weapon, go into a public area that could be rife with families and or children, and that is the definition of not caring for life, right? When you go after its most vulnerable, in its most vulnerable state, a shopping mall, a school, I mean, hell, anywhere, even a place of employment. But it's just the theme in which that this is all this is all associated to. You can kind of break down, but ultimately what happens is that there's a part of our society that's degrading, and for some reason we're getting used to it. Folks want to blame video games, folks want to blame movies, but nobody wants to do anything about any solutions, concrete solutions, particularly like when you talk about the kids from Florida, Parkland. There's a giant movement that started behind them, and I mean, very intelligent kids. These guys are going to Harvard now and whatnot, and I mean, at least listen to the voices, like the Sandy Hook parents. I think 2 or 3 of them have committed suicide by now, over not being able to, stomach the loss of losing a child. Divorces. I mean, these things not only ripple within the inner circles of the victims and their families, but then as a society, we all start to lose when we stop listening to the people that have gone through it, the most. And the one thing that I'm hearing, and what I do believe, and I've believed it from the beginning, is like we have this addiction to this Second Amendment, which we totally misread, right? We totally misread. Suddenly there's nuances on how to read the Constitution, but then, we don't give the same consideration to those nuances that are applied to the Second Amendment, to the First Amendment, So, again, I think, you can go back to the political systems that propped up and gave Roger Stone his career, the systems that have degraded and fallen apart and given Trump a presidency. And it's only going to get worse because nobody thought it would get worse after Bush. Fuck yeah, it did. We're not fixing the root of the systems. Again, I think it all wraps back in. For me, personally, the way I theme things is that it wraps into this country's addiction to not wanting to fix problems.
I guess I agree and I disagree with you. So I'm not going to talk about amendments because I don't believe in the U.S. Constitution. I don't believe in the U.S., right? I don't care what some fucking racist slave owners put on a piece of paper a couple hundred years ago. One of my fears is after these school shootings, or one of the things I see after these school shootings or after these mass shootings, is there's this mass violence, really, is that there's a tendency to talk about it in terms of guns, right? And it feels like there's this sort of like calcification that's gone on in the response to violence, which is some folks are thoughts and prayers, some folks are ban or restrict guns, right? And to me, that's a really weird dichotomy. We were talking about this before, right? Where like the issue that I see is not guns per se, right? And I grew up white trash. I grew up in a trailer park where we would go shooting all the time, right? Like I grew up with guns. Like that was just something that was part of my background growing up in Iowa. So I'm not opposed to guns, right? I generally support gun ownership. I think it's a perfectly fine and dandy thing, right? Like, but what I see is there's this endemic violence in American culture, right? From the moment of European colonization in North America, right? Violence has been part of the American project from the start, and it's baked in. Mm-hmm. And so if it weren't guns, it would be something else, right? And I take a point you were making earlier, Sebop, that it's a lot harder to kill a whole bunch of people with mass knife violence, right? And I think that that's true, but at the same time, I also believe that even if you were to ban guns, all you see is other forms of attack. You see this in the UK, right? Knife violence, acid attacks, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like, the violence is the problem. As to how you address that, I guess I go big picture, right? Decolonization, reparations, like really trying to undo those original sins of the United States as an entity. And I guess I just get really worried when we get calcified into this, like, well, the solution is gun control, that's the only solution. Yeah. Or the solution is for everyone to own basically like a small arsenal, so that the solution is just have a mass gun fight instead of mass one-sided violence. It just, like, those two poles are really bizarre to me, but that's where I see the debate getting locked in, and I suspect that that's where the debate is going to go after this. And that's not to disrespect the very real impact that gun violence has on these families, or has had on my own family, right? Like, many members of my family have died as a result of gun violence, inflicted, in various ways.
And just another aspect that is always raised is that there's a mental health crisis in America, that the perpetrators are experiencing some sort of crisis, and they haven't been treated, and some of them may have been treated, but they still have access to weapons, so the conversation then it goes to, why aren't there resources for these folks, and why aren't they getting treated? The blame also goes on parents, like, why are parents owning guns and making them readily accessible, things like that. So this is what the debate, and this is what's happening in conversations in our community, and so we wanted to have that. I don't know that any of us have the answers, but I like what you're saying over here. I like what you're saying. These are big system problems, and we're gonna, as we continue to see these things happen, we're gonna talk about them. Because why not? We feel like we, are affected, just like everyone else, and we should be able to participate in the conversation about our events that are happening in our communities.
I feel like, as we progress, I think knowing the way we go about and the way we think. I mean, I feel like it's always going to be centered towards like system repair. You know, it's we've been skirting around a blue screen for a long time. You know, as a country, and we're built on bad code, and however in order to get rid of the situation, we need to repair the code. I think Glasgow, Scotland, did a great thing, where they were facing a lot of violence, razor gangs, right? So a lot of it wasn't gun violence, but a lot of it was knife and razor, but murders, crime rate, whatever. I think I don't forgive me, but I feel like it was like, you know, 1 in 12 people got murdered, 1 in 7 people got robbed, or something like that, you know, in Scotland. And what wound up happening over years and years and years, they increased punitive measures, they increased policing, they increased all these things. They built bigger courts and more systems in courts to be able to address this, and it just continued to get worse. And what behavioral scientists and social workers in Scotland and health workers in Scotland were trying to do is say, hey, look, that's the wrong way to go about it. Listen to us, we have an idea. The government sat on it forever until finally it's like, they were like, okay, what is it? They provided their studies, and their studies was like, look, the epicenter of violence, if you look at it, these are the same place that are impoverished educations. You know, educational systems are crumbling. Lack of access to proper health care. So like, well, okay, let's invest in those. Let's invest in education. Let's provide full-on healthcare access to these communities. But within 10 years, they had to dismantle court systems because of the amount of reduction in violence. They had to decommission police precincts. You know, they had to do all kinds of stuff to basically break down the systems that they created that was meant to be like this penal system to try and fix it, which we never did. It made it worse. And so, I mean, that's true repair. That's what happens with the society. And I don't know if this country has the guts written in it to be able to even see that. And that's part of like my pessimism lately, you know. And I don't want to see gun violence, and I don't want to see any other kind of violence in any other kind of form take place on populations of people, you know, whether it's in a school or in a mall or a place of business or anywhere. But, you know, I think until we start, as a country, maybe start taking things seriously, you know, Medicare for all, that'd be great. It'd be a good start right there.
I mean, we're talking about policies, yeah. I mean, do you have more to say?
Well, I was going to say, this is maybe in an oblique direction, but y'all ever seen New Jack City with Wesley Snipes?
Of course, man.
Okay, so there's that speech he's given when Nino Brown's up on the stand, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to read that, because I think about this, right? The
Yes,
way that we
please.
individualize this. I'm not guilty.
Yeah.
You're the one that's guilty. The lawmakers, the politicians, the Colombian drug lords, all you who lobby against making drugs legal, just like you did with alcohol during Prohibition. You're the one who's guilty. I mean, come on, let's kick the ballistics here. Ain't no Uzis made in Harlem.
Yep.
Not one of us in here owns a poppy field.
Nope.
This thing is bigger than Nino Brown. This is big business. This is the American way.
Motherfucking Nino Brown.
And that's it,
Yo,
man. Wesley
Chris
Snipes is wrong.
Chris Rock's talked about, you know, we don't need to make guns illegal. We need to increase the price on bullets. You know,
Right, I remember
$1 million
that.
a bullet.
You know they really deserve it. No,
Of all the guns
And then
you
we'll
want.
start an underground bullet sales project here in the country.
right.
Everything goes underground when the government tries to control it and change prices or overtax things. But anyways,
Right, how we doing on time?
we wanted to do a rundown of our Ortland thoughts or Ortland hot topics. So we want to do a little quick rundown. So, C-Mob, you want to start with your Ortland 5?
Well, just to preface this, we're going to run through 5 takes we all got. We're not going to explain them. We're not going to contextualize them. Just 5 things we all believe.
Exactly. Holla.
Y'all fucking with Kaepernick for this bullshit ass day tomorrow, but he's ready. Free Palestine, Adam Waff and Andy. I got 3. That's all I got right now.
All right.
Okay.
Mine is, you know, political and violence in the streets is real and it's happening. despite this civil society kind of thing that we have, that we say that we have. I would just say politicians that are afraid to go there, that needs to stop. We need to go there. Also, thinking about the Rodney Reed situation in Texas. The execution is scheduled for Wednesday, and the fight isn't over, so keep fighting. Do whatever you can to get that, to free him.
Free Rodney Reed.
And I was also just going to say Kaepernick. You know, Kaepernick is... He's a top 20 quarterback right now. He needs
top
to
10.
be. He needs to be in the league. That's it,
10.
man.
Even being out of
No conversation, man.
Nah, yeah, no
Hey.
debate. Just give out the takes.
Hey.
Just give out the takes.
Smack your ass, man. Fuck.
I'm really excited- no, I'm real excited for that rule because you're not going to like my Kaepernick take.
Yeah.
All right, number 1, East Portland should be its own city. Number 2, the weak mayor form of government we got in Portland, the whole thing where the mayor doesn't have any real special power, that's good, actually. We should keep that. Number 3, public transit should be fare free. It's a basic human right. Number 4, police and prisons are oppressive garbage. All cops are bastards. All prisons are basically caging people for the purposes of slavery. Communities can keep ourselves safe. Number 5, love Colin Kaepernick. He's doing great stuff. U.S. football is like a fucking gladiator contest, and it should be illegal. I want to see Cap develop his skills as a striker in actual football, the soccer kind. He's going to be great, but American football is just garbage.
All right, Noam Chomsky.
Man, you asked for my takes. You got my
All
takes.
right, no conversation on the takes. We just move on. Let's finish this off because we're over an hour.
Oh shit.
Our sponsors of the day, if you have one.
My sponsor of the day is 256 megabytes in your phone. No, gigabytes.
Good
Sorry,
name.
gigabytes. I'm still stuck in the
Hey,
90s.
you moved
Yeah,
to
you
the
throw it
90s.
back, man. Yeah, 486.
Oh,
256 megabytes? I remember that shit.
All right, my sponsor of the day is Doja Cat. That's all I got.
All right, I ain't even gonna ask. My sponsor today is the Antifa Super Soldier Serum. If you want to bulk up and beat Nazis in the street, you just hit that serum, man. I'm talking Antifa Super Soldier. You have the power.
Okay, all right, y'all. Until next time.